trade management in 2026. Trading is an art and a science, in my own opinion. We have kind of like, we have the mechanics, we have rules around like when to manage trades, how to, like approach the market in certain ways, trading volatility, early management, all that kind of stuff. We have kind of rules of thumb that, to just kind of get started. But we know that like using your kind of critical thinking as a trader might deviate from those, cause you to deviate from those rules sometime. I just had this, earlier this week where I had some put spreads on, market took a big, fell a little bit. They were at a loss and I decided to hold past 21 days to see if they would recover a little bit. You take a risk when you do that, but that's something that I don't think I'm the only trader who does that. So I wanted to take a look at how basically holding losers past 21 days has performed in 2026. If there's been any upsides, what the downsides have looked like, and I wanted to kind of test that. I don't know if that's something you guys can relate to, just with like the crazy market swings that we've seen. So that was the idea.
Okay, Julia, I say this all the time. You need to understand the rules in order to break them.
For sure. Yeah. And I think it's about using discretion and about like really like the more experience that you get, the more you can kind of get a feel for the market. And the market's a different beast every day. It constantly changes, but it can let you use some of that discretion, such as like when to break the rules. But yeah, you want to have that foundation, understand what the rules are before you choose when to break them.
Yes, correct.
Yep. So kind of like I said, I wanted to look at holding strangles past 21 DTE if they're losers. And this is not, I think, a realistic scenario for a lot of traders in 2026, exactly what we're going to be testing. But we want to just look at management and see how kind of deviating from the strategy has worked out, when it's kind of paid off and when it sort of hasn't. Make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Let's look at the study. Okay, so we're just looking at 2026. So this is very short stint of data when we had a lot of turbulence and a really crazy rally in the market. And we're looking at 45 DTE, 16 delta SPY strangles. And the reason that we're doing that is really just to isolate the results of management. So we're looking at SPY as kind of like a test underlying. A lot of these principles hold true regardless of what underlying you pick. Strangles we're using to remove the directional bias. I was not comfortable putting on the put side for a lot of 2026 after my first like loss or two, but we're trying to remove sort of like directional bias from this. So we're using neutral strategies. And then we're also ignoring critical factors like IV that would like skew these statistics, because we're really trying to look at like management in 2026 and how that's been working out. So we're looking at
every day, right? Every day.
That's another factor too. I love talking about this or having conversations about, because this doesn't represent how people would typically trade. You're not trading a strangle every day, but we're trying to get as much data as possible, again, to kind of isolate the factors of management, see how that impacts our strategy, and then go from there. But this is not representative of how someone would actually be trading. We're just trying to understand management, right?
Right.
Exactly. So unmanaged strangles, early management, 21 DTE or 50% the initial credit. And then if a loser, or if a trade is a loser at 21 DTE, holding it until it flips positive. That's what we're trying to test here. So we're not going to be the greedy traders. We're not going to try to collect significant premium. We're just saying, like, if it's a loser at 21 DTE, we're going to hold it until it flips green and then take it right off. And then if it doesn't flip, we're holding it to expiration. So this first slide here is showing us basically what just regular management versus unmanagement kind of looks like. And you can see that like the tail risk specifically, again, we're trading neutral strategies when we had a very strong rally in the S&P. So basically all those red like bars, anyone who would have put a trade on, a strangle on during that time would have incurred a loss, whether they managed early or at expiration. And we can see that the tail risk becomes significantly worse when you don't employ those management strategies. And that's really what we're trying to do when we use them. We might lose a little bit of money from like premium collection over time, because, you know, the longer the trade goes, the closer it gets to expiration, the more theta decay, the more premium you collect. But the tail risk is really what we're trying to control here when we're doing these early management, so that we can more likely be profitable in the long term. That's what we're trying to do, right?
Yeah, I see this.
Yep.
And the tail risk is where what is the scariest part. And so trying to eliminate that makes sense.
Exactly. And this tail risk, what's really interesting here is this tail was from one really strong rally in the S&P. We saw like this huge period of strength. So anyone kind of like trading neutral strategies during that time, it was really like the same event. So it looks like a lot of losses, but it's really from like one big tear in the market, basically.
Right, because you put them on every day. So that's why.
Exactly.
Yes.
And again, we're doing that to try to get a snapshot of what the average experience is like, which means that we're trying to, people are going to be putting the trades on at totally different times throughout the year. They're going to be managing them differently, using different entry conditions. We're trying to kind of ignore all those factors and like just look at management, which is why we're seeing all those red bars. So basically anybody that would have put on a trade during, those times, really like around April, right? Anyone would have put on a trade during that time would have incurred a loss. And then we see green most of the time, which is what you'd expect from a strangle.
Yeah.
Yep. And then where it gets really interesting, so if we go to the next slide, if we're holding the losers past 21 DTE, those kind of hatched bars are what would happen if you held the loser past that 21 DTE mark. And you can see a couple times when the P&L flipped, right? So like as you would kind of expect, like the market kind of goes up, goes down, reverses. And so you see that like of the trades that were placed, of the 39 losers, basically 20, this is a typo, but 23 of those trades flipped. So we increased our pop pretty significantly, but the trades that didn't flip incurred much worse losses, especially during that one like very specific market event that we saw in 2026.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So if we go to the next slide, we can look at our nice table of numbers. But basically, when we're managing early, the tail risk is really what we're trying to control for. So holding the losers past 21 DTE increased the pop of the trade. We saw it increased the median P&Ls but it came at the risk of higher CVaR because you're basically getting the same level of tail risk as if you didn't manage the position if you're waiting it to flip. When you're undergoing one of these extreme kind of more not extreme market events, but really strong rallies that we saw. We use average P&Ls to get a snapshot that kind of includes the tail risk, but median P&Ls are really what your kind of more typical experience will be sort of as a trader. So it's important to look at both, one that has the tail weight, one that is sort of like the middle of the distribution instead. But the kind of messaging remains the same, which is that like just managing early and controlling that tail risk has a really, really big impact on your CVaR, which is really what you're trying to control for when you're using that.
This is good.
Julia, can you just explain quickly to the audience what the difference between VAR and CVaR is?
VAR and CVaR. Okay, so value at risk, expected shortfall. We're basically trying to look at like for, especially this is good with distributions that have a really big tail, such as short premium distributions, where like the tail risk is unlikely to happen, but can get very large. Your value at risk is basically like, what is the point in the distribution when you hit this tail? So for example, like if your value at risk is like $1,000 and your threshold is 5%, that means in the worst 5% of cases, your loss is going to be worse than $1,000 is what your VAR is. Your conditional value at risk basically takes that extreme tail and does like a weighted average of it. So it's an even more kind of like extreme estimate of your worst case loss. We use buying power for that as well, but we wanted to use actual data for this backtest. But that gives you like a representation of like what your historical worst case loss is. Approximately, or what you can expect it to be. So your conditional value at risk is basically like what we're looking at to look at those extreme tail occurrences. That's a little bit less extreme than buying power reduction, which is meant to capture like 90 to 95% of those losses. Does that make sense?
Oh no, for sure. And I think I know there's CVaR on the platform. Liz, you and I were talking about this I think last week. I rarely ever look at CVaR, but when you're trying to figure out like does the glove fit, it is a consideration when you're doing some back testing. And I don't think that you should ignore it, but I know on a day-to-day basis, you and I'm not looking at my trade right now and saying, what's my CVaR? For
sure. I think it like as a trader, you constantly have to weigh the, like the risks and rewards, right? Obviously. And so buying power reduction it's supposed to give you a pretty good representation at what your expected worst case loss is, but that can sometimes be too extreme. For most situations, depending on the trader. So CVaR can give you, especially for undefined risk trades, it doesn't they're kind of more the same when it comes to defined risk trades, but for undefined risk trades, it's trying to give you like kind of a more realistic representation of if kind of, the market went crazy or when the market went against you, what are you looking at? So as well, like if we're doing a historical backtest, if we look at like worst loss ever recorded, that could have been just like one very bad data point. Right. It's not representative of what is typical in an extreme situation. So that's kind of why we're looking at CVaR to get a better snapshot, looking at a whole chunk of a distribution instead of one data point.
No, right. And I think that's good to talk through those scenarios because people need to understand that that's a possibility of it happening, but it's not typically what does happen.
Yeah, this is the worst 5% of cases, which, like, again, we're looking at a strategy that's traded every day to try to get as much data as possible. That's not representative of what most people are going to kind of like be doing, obviously. But we're trying to kind of isolate specific variables here. We're trying to isolate management and to learn general rules about that. So that's kind of why we approach back tests that way. It's not supposed to really represent exactly how someone's supposed to trade, if that makes sense.
No, but hey, I think it's good to understand what your worst possible
Oh,
case
yeah.
scenario is. I don't
Sure.
You
think
have
that's
to.
a bad thing to kind of understand and know. You know what typically happens or what possibly could happen. It's knowledge is power in that. So you can't be surprised if you say I lost $4,269 in this
But
strangle.
Julie, I mean,
Yeah.
like the practical thing here for traders, in my view, is like, oh, there's no benefit for holding past 21 DTE on a loser, right?
Right.
And that's just you have to get lucky, and if you don't get lucky, then you
Right.
experience a much steeper loss unless you manage your position correctly. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't need to know the CVaR. I can look at this and go, oh yeah, no, it's just not worth it.
But you know what though? It's very hard. I like the CVaR in there too because I have I'm a very like, oh yeah, now how about now person. I was like, I'll get you back. Like I'm trying to be lucky. So it is
Yeah.
sometimes that mechanical approach, and it's human nature to think that. It's human nature to think, okay, well I know it's going to turn around now. If it didn't turn around the first 21 days, the next 21 days I'm going to do it. But
Right.
that's not, you can't fight the math.
Yeah.
Can't find the math, and you also can't really. It's really, really hard to gauge the market in real time. It's very difficult to tell like what the movement that we're seeing in the market. Are we in the middle of a sell-off? I remember in 2020 that was an ongoing conversation. Several weeks into the sell-off, we still kind of couldn't tell if we were in full-blown sell-off territory or not. Likewise with the rally. So what we kind of saw here is like your P&L can flip, right? It did happen with a good number of cases. But if you're in a really, especially if you're in a very aggressive market regime, and if you're trading a single company stock or a sector ETF as well that are subject to different kinds of risk factors, like it can be very difficult to tell in the moment, like kind of should I break the rules a little bit and keep this on, or should I not? It's really, that's why I'm saying it's like a science and an art, but it's good to understand the
Right, right.
science to know when to kind of use that discretion, and especially understanding what the potential risks are when you choose to do that. Like it could continue to go south. That does happen.
Right.
Great
Oh,
point.
I like it. Are there takeaways or is this the last slide?
These are takeaways that we can just real quickly go through them. But basically, early management 2026 is holding up. It's cut and tail loss versus holding to expiration. Holding those losers past 21 DTE did boost the win rate, but that comes with more exposure to tail risk. Trades that never flip positive continue with no, they don't have a stop loss, and they will just kind of go on to expiration. Basically, have the same kind of tail risk as an unmanaged position. So, looking at this, I don't want to say best is maybe not the right word. I would have changed that, but the 50% 21 DTE gives you more control over the risk profile long term. And then the other element here that we didn't talk about is that it frees up capital for redeployment.
Mhm.
So when you do have, a loss that could be because of volatility in the market, then managing that position early allows you to potentially redeploy that to more strategic positions. And also important to note that we're looking at like 6 months of data, and we're really trying to look at one specific variable, which is management. So this is not representative of how someone would typically be trading, but we want to just understand, like, did it hold up in 2026? And this is kind of painting a picture why, hopefully.
Liz, it's almost like if you're for me, I mean, I think the takeaway here is actually really informative. As a trend trader, if I'm trading a position within the trend and I'm at 21 DTE and it's working against me, but the trend is still holding, that may be a scenario where I go, you know what, maybe I give this another day or two.
Yeah.
Because I'm trading with the market. It could bounce back. Maybe I go beyond 21. I go to 17, 16, 15.
But you understand
Something to
why.
consider.
You understand what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Know the rule. Know when, given the context of the market, how to break it.
And why you're
But also, like, know the risk. It's like I could totally
Yes.
be wrong when I do that, and I might be increasing
sure.
my potential losses when that happens. So that's why, yeah, using that discretion. But I just did that. I'm like, we had a drop in the market. I decided to keep my positions on past 21 DTE. Market recovered a little bit, was able to take some off for a little bit more profit. But that, I wouldn't have maybe done that if I was trading strangles in 2020. I got very uncomfortable putting the call side on at all. I'm sorry, in 2026. I got very uncomfortable putting the call side on and all back in April and March. So, yeah, it's really, you got to use your trader gut.